and welcome to this first lecture of the new section on business modeling. In this section, we're going to help you learn in depth about business modeling, and we will talk about a lot of things, starting with what is business modeling, what it is not, and how can you figure out and understand a business model of a firm. In this particular lecture, we will help you learn what is business modeling and what it is not. So, what do you think is a business modeling? Any thoughts? Anything that you remember, recall from our earlier conversation in this course? Because we did talk about what is business modeling right in the beginning. Remember? Okay. So, business modeling is actually figuring out how does a business operate. A bank, a pharmaceutical concern, a consulting firm. If it is operating successfully, or even if it is not operating successfully, will do few things uh, in terms of the famous Michael Porter's wheel. And what we need to is we need to understand and figure out how do they do these things, starting with what is their vision of the future at this point of time. How are they, not how do will do they, how are they actually competing in the market space to build a business? What are their sales, market share, and profitability goals for next couple of years? What product lines do they have at this moment? It is not about what will they have or what they had, but what do they have at this point of time? What markets and customers are they serving? Right? How do you generate? How do they generate the demand for their products? How do they sell and distribute their products and services? How do they actually procure materials and manufacture products and services? How do they get people, the right people? How do they motivate them? How do they get best out of them? How do they retain them? All those questions about HR practices. How do they actually develop the new products and services to stay in the business? How are they funding the business and how are they controlling the business? So it's all about the same famous wheel of the business strategy, except that instead of will, the intent, the direction in future, we are talking about how are they actually doing it. Please remember the emphasis on actually doing, not what they think they are doing, but how they are doing it. And that will require, as you will probably see later on, is actually going and talking to many people in the organization and seeing, walking and seeing, and what are they actually doing. Because many times it happens that the management thinks they are doing in a certain way, but it is happening very differently on the ground. And unfortunately for management, they are not even aware of the facts there. What is not business modeling then? Let's look at any thoughts on that. Let's look at what is not business modeling. Business modeling is not necessarily the best way of doing a business. So it's not a best way of doing business. It's only a current way of doing business. So many times this is mistaken. This is a business model, but business model is not a successful. Not necessarily has to be a successful model. You can be an absolute failure, and you may have a business model, and that's your business model. And so it is not necessary a business or model to be always associated with success. Also, it is not a standard way of doing business. While many people think it is only one way one company is doing at a particular point of time. And hence, the business model for companies will vary between each other. For a company, it will vary from a time to time. There was a business model at a point of time and it would change over a period of time. For example, Johnson & Johnson consumer business used to distribute the products before I came into their business in 1989 through their regional warehouses. They had four regional warehouses. They used to ship along with all other divisions. They used to ship. They used to receive all the goods for the consumer business at those warehouses, and from there they used to ship to their distributors. And once we made the changes, we introduced CNFA. The business model changed to regionally locate to statewide location of the clearing and forwarding agent, receiving the goods from factories directly instead of going to regional warehouses. So the business model changed for Johnson and Johnson so far as the distribution is concerned. It is not a strategy or plan of doing a business. It's not what you intend to do in the future. It's what you're doing at this point of time. It's simply the way it is being done now. How is business model different from business strategy and plan? You have had a good look at business strategy. Now, the plan we still need to look at, but let's look at how is business model and business strategy different from it. The business model different from business strategy and a business plan. Business model, as we said, is a current way of doing things. The dimensions of business strategy model and a large part of business plan is still the same. We still talk about the vision, we still talk about the competitive businesses, we talk about the product line, the markets, we talk about functional strategies, functional elements. So the dimensions are same, but the fact is that the business model is about how we are doing today. How are we doing marketing today? If we are marketing in non-digital way, face to face, through press advertising, that's our business model. If we are doing in a digital way, that's our business model today. Whereas the business strategy is the future direction of doing business. If we are doing business in a face-to-face way using TV and press today, but we also want to bring in digital marketing in the next couple of years, then that's a strategy. So the business model is that we are doing physical face-to-face through the TV and press. That's a model of communication, and our strategy is a combination of that and digital marketing as we go into the future. So that is the difference between business model and business strategy. Business plan and business model is again very different in the sense that a business plan is again a plan for the future, and it builds on further the business strategy by detailing the action plans the business will take and the expected financial results of that. So you see they're very different. Business plan is detailed action plan along with the business strategy and the implication of that in terms of financial results. Whereas business model is simply a way of doing it. Now details of business model may vary. You may have a first level business model in terms of these six, seven, eight, nine dimensions, or you may have drilled down to the second level, or you may have even greater things in a business model. We did this business modeling as a part of a signature of quality in Johnson & Johnson, where to improve the businesses of each of the companies, J&J Worldwide asked us to write down specifically how are we doing all these things, and we wrote down in a great lot of great details, actually defining each of the important processes that they wanted us to know. Right, so that's how you do that. So what do you do in the next module? So we will look at in the next module what is the structure of business model and what are its components. Right? Ready for that? So thank you so much for watching this first lecture of business modeling. I hope you've got a first-hand understanding, a starting understanding of what is a business model, what it is not, and how is it different from what you have learned so far, business strategy, and what you will learn about business planning. So thank you so much for watching this lecture again, and I look forward to see you again in the next lecture.